Hey guys, welcome back to Future Specs. I'm Wesley, and this is going to be my second deep dive into the history of a comic book creator. And today we are doing Jim Starlin. So let's get to it. So before we get started, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment down below, and subscribe for more videos about creators like this and other comic related content. So let's get into the history of Jim Starlin. So before comics, Starlin served as an aviation photographer for the US Navy in Vietnam in the 60s, which this is where when he was on his downtime and off duty, he would draw and submit his artwork to various companies. But after leaving the Navy, he entered the comic industry in 1972. So Starlin started working for Marvel in 1972 with Roy Thomas and John Romita, who Starlin said that Jack Kirby and Stan Lee were his biggest inspirations. So his first work, he did finishing work on a few pages of Amazing Spider-Man, but then was moved to the Iron Man title for issues 55 and 56, which I'd say is starting out pretty strong because 55 is the first appearance of Starlin's biggest character, which is Thanos, which, if you guys know, is my favorite character. So he wrote and drew issue 55 and 56, and then was moved to Captain Marvel on issue 25, where he started his Thanos War storyline that crossed over into a couple different titles. So one of my favorite stories from Jim Starlin is Captain Marvel 25 to 33, which is called the Thanos Saga. He first penciled on issue 25, and then started writing and drawing fully on issue 26, which started this 8-issue year-long story arc. So the story runs from Captain Marvel 25 to 32, then jumps to Avengers issue 125, and then back to Captain Marvel 33, which this is the story of Thanos getting the Cosmic Cube and trying to get the ultimate power that way, and just his ambition for power is first developed here in this awesome story. So while he was writing and drawing for Captain Marvel, he started doing work for independent companies, which he did a lot of, and this is kind of where he started doing that. So he had many stories published in Star Reach, which was an independent magazine, which he could write and tell whatever stories he wanted because he didn't have to follow the comics code. So he could go into any aspect that he wanted without having to worry about censorship and all that. He also penciled the Secret of Skull River story in Savage Tales issue 5. So after Captain Marvel, Starlin didn't slow down. He co-created the character of Shang-Chi with Steve Englehart in Special Marvel Edition 15. This is about the time when Marvel wanted to get onto the Kung Fu hype, because a lot of Kung Fu movies had come out in the US and people really enjoyed them, so they wanted to ride that train with their comic. So Special Marvel Edition was later renamed to the Master of Kung Fu title on issue 17, which Starlin penciled issues 15 through 17. Then after his work with Shang-Chi, he continued to develop his cosmic Marvel stories, which he's well known for and are some of my favorite stories he's ever told. So Starlin took over the character of Adam Warlock, writing stories in Strange Tales 1 through 78 till 181, which he then revived Warlock's solo series in 1975 with issue 9, when the title was previously canceled 2 years before in 1973. In these stories, Starlin continued to build his cosmic universe and introducing many characters that would show up later in his stories, like Pip the Troll and the Magus, and just other cosmic universe characters connected to Adam Warlock. So some of the key first appearance books in his work on Strange Tales. In Strange Tales 178, which is the first appearance of Magus, in 179, which is the first appearance of Pip the Troll, who is kind of like his sidekick and becomes part of the Infinity Watch. And then issue 180, which is the first appearance of Gamora. And keys of his work on the Warlock title, with issue 9, which is the origin of Magus, who is a future alternate universe evil version of Warlock. Issue 10, which is the first appearance of the In-Betweener, who is one of the elders of the universe that Thanos eventually takes one of the Infinity Gems from in the Thanos Quest story. Warlock issue 12, which is the origin of Pip, and then issue 15, which is the final issue and a really fantastic cover that I really like. So after his many stories with Adam Warlock, he would write and draw a new story with Thanos in Avengers Annual 7 and Marvel Annual 2-in-1 2. And this story ended with the death of Thanos and Adam Warlock being sent into the Soul Stone, which is what the state that both of them would be in until Starlin would return and bring these characters back later in the 90s. This is also the time that he would start his work at DC, where he wrote a lot of popular stories. So in the late 70s, Starlin did some work for DC on Legion of Superheroes and Detective Comics, but nothing too big until 1980 when Starlin drew issues 26 and 29 of DC Comics Presents, which are two very important books because 26 is the first appearance of Raven, Cyborg, and Starfire, and also is where the new Teen Titans team is formed. Issue 27 is the issue that first introduced Mongol, who was created by Starlin, and is a recurring Superman villain after this issue and many other stories. So in 1980, Starlin also started writing and drawing his Metamorphosis Odyssey story, which introduced his own creator-owned character of Vanth Dreadstar in Epic Illustrated, which this is probably his second most popular character next to Thanos. And Dreadstar would get his own series by Starlin in 1982 under Epic, which was an imprint of Marvel at the time. So in 1982, Marvel wanted Starlin to write a one-shot story, killing off one of their main characters. So he drew and wrote The Death of Captain Marvel, which Marvel turned into their first trade paperback-sized graphic novel. This is also an extremely rare book to find nowadays, at least the first printing is, because it went through a lot of different printings. Over the next 6 years, Starlin wrote many stories for DC with a focus on Batman. He first wrote the 10 Nights of the Beast storyline in Batman issues 417 to 420, and this is the story that introduced KG Beast in issue 417. He then wrote the miniseries Batman the Cult, which was another classic storyline. But the big Batman story that he is most known for is A Death in the Family in Batman 426 to 429. And this is most famously the story that killed off Jason Todd, which was voted on by the fans if he should live or not. So this is just another example of Starlin being really good at writing these classic stories that everybody loves and remembers. But in 1990, Starlin would return back to Marvel to start the beginning of his huge Infinity Saga story with the revival of Thanos. So he started working with Marvel again on the Silver Surfer title. As Starlin continued to write these issues, he started to introduce his own characters that he had worked on in the past into these stories, including bringing Thanos back to life. So this story took place over issue 34 up to issue 50. So near the end of his Silver Surfer run, Starlin wrote Thanos Quest, which tells the story of how Thanos got all of the Infinity Gems from the Elders of the Universe. And in the last issues of Silver Surfer, issue 43 to 50 of Silver Surfer, continues the story after the Thanos Quest. So after he concluded his run on Silver Surfer, he would start the first of his 3 miniseries in the Infinity Saga, starting with Infinity Gauntlet, which Infinity Gauntlet was written by Starlin with art by George Perez. And if you haven't seen my last comic history of George Perez video, definitely go and check that out after this one. So then Starlin would write Infinity War and Infinity Crusade in 1992 and 1993, with Ron Lim doing the artwork on all 3 of these issues. And these stories focused on Thanos and Adam Warlock in the cosmic side of Marvel, which I really enjoy. That's my favorite part of Marvel. And it also crossed over with many other titles, dragging superheroes from all across Marvel into these stories. So after the Infinity Saga, Starlin didn't really do any work on bigger stories. He did a bunch of miniseries for Marvel and DC, and some indie titles here and there. But his first big thing back with Marvel was the 6-issue miniseries of Marvel The End, which is a story focused on Thanos, of course, because it's Starlin, and him trying to get the power of the heart of the universe. And this series also led to many other miniseries focusing on certain characters, like the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Iron Man, for example, and what their theoretical last days would look like in their different The End titles, which was kind of like an alternate universe kind of look at things. And after The End, Starlin continued to do more miniseries for DC and indie publishers, like Cosmic Guard for Dynamite and Mystery in Space Volume 2, Death of the New Gods, which is the series that kind of started the build into the Infinite Crisis event. And he also did Strange Adventures Volume 3 for DC. He would then also write issues 19 through 30 of Stormwatch, which was part of DC's New 52 titles. So the last kind of big thing that Starlin would do is the Infinity hardcover trilogy with the Infinity Revelation, Relativity, and Finale, which was released in 2014, 2015, and 2016 respectively. So Starlin wrote and drew a bit of these special hardcovers featuring Thanos, Adam Warlock, and other cosmic beings in these stories. But after the release of Infinity Finale, Starlin had an accident which injured his hand, permanently damaging it, making him unable to draw anymore. So after this, Starlin kind of stopped doing comic work for a bit and is now only able to write. And as of now, this is kind of the last thing that Starlin's done, although I am hoping that he'll continue doing work, writing stories, because he's one of my favorite writers for Marvel and DC, just the way he built up Marvel's cosmic universe with the Infinity stuff and his Thanos stories and Captain Warlock, and Thanos being the character that got me into comics and everything, so I might be a little biased, but I really had a lot of fun looking into the background and history of one of my favorite writers and artists. So if you guys enjoyed, please leave a like and comment down below of some other creators you'd like me to see do histories on, and subscribe for more videos like this. So that's it for this video, and see you guys next time.